Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. We begin today's satsang with a prayer followed by Muktakatrayam by Sri Nandakumarji. Dakshinamurti Sarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Ramanacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye Angikam Bhuvanam Yasya Vachikam Sarva Vangmayam Aharyam Chandrataradi Tam Namah Satvikam Shivam. Namo Ramana.
Ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate katham. Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahma matram yaham aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati. Hrudi vishamanasa svam chinvata majjata pavana chalana rodha atmanishto bhavatvam. Deham mrunmayavat jadatmakam aham buddhirna tasyastyatu naham tattata bhavashukti samaye suddhatma sad bhavatah koham bhavayuta kuto varadhiya drishtatmanishtatmana soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam. Soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam.
We will now have the chanting of Upadesha Saram. Vayurodhanaliyate manah jalapakshivardrodhasadhanam chittavayavashchitkriayutaha शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलका लयविनाशने उभयरोधने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धनालीनमानसम् एकचिन्तनान्नाशमेत्यदः नष्टमानसोत्कृष्टयोगिनः कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्थितिं यतः दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मनः चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनं मानसं तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मनः अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वतः ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभाज्यहमहं तया स्फुरति हृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णसत्. Namo Ramana. We will now have the presentations from Ramananjali music by Savitri Krishnan and Shri Jai Shri Ram Krishnan, followed by a song by Revathi Shankar.
அப்படமேட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு அப்படமேட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு அப்படமேட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு இப்பூவில் தன்னில் ஏங்கி திரியாமல் சத்போத சுக சத்குருவானவர் செப்பாது சொன்ன தத்துவமாகிய ரொப்புயர்வில்லா ஓர் மொழி இப்படி அப்பளமேட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு தானெல்லாம் வைங்கோஷ க்ஷேத்திரமிதில் வளர் தானெனும் மானமா தானிய உளுந்தை நானாரஞான விசாரத்திரிகையில் நான் அல்லவென்றே உடைத்து பொடித்து அப்பளமேட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு சத்சங்கமாகும் இரண்டை ரசத்தோடு சமதமமாகின்ற ஜீரகமிளகுடன் உபரதியாவும் முற்போடு உள்ள நல்வாசனை யாம் பெருங்காயமும் சேர்த்து அப்பளமேட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு கண்ணென்றில் நான் என்று கலங்காமல் உன்முக உலக்கையால் ஓயாதிடித்து சாந்தமாம் குழவியால் சமமான பலகையில் சந்ததம் சலிப்பர சந்தோஷமாகவே அப்பளமேட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு மோனமுத்திரையாவும் முடிவிலா பாத்திரத்தில் ஞானாகியார் காயும் நற்பிரம்மனை அதில் நானது வாகவே நாளும் பொறித்து தானே தானாக புஜிக்க தன்மய அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு தானே தானாக பூஜிக்க தன்மய அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு அத்தை சாப்பிட்டும் ஆசையை தீரு சந்தோஷமாகவே அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு தானே தானாக தன்மய அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு அப்பளமிட்டு பாரு.
ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாய.
Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. We are meditating on the 26th and the last verse of Ramana Suprabhatam. This work is written by Sri Shantananda Puri Swami. गायन्ति ये प्रतिदिनं तव सुप्रभातं विन्दन्ति सौख्यमिह बोधमयि मयीं च दृष्टिं देहात्मभावविरताश्च विमुक्तमायाः आनन्दचित्रमणभो तव सुप्रभातम् गायन्ति ये प्रतिदिनं तव सुप्रभातं विन्दन्ति सौख्यमिह बोधमयीं च दृष्टिं देहात्मभावविरताश्च विमुक्तमायाः आनन्दचित्रमणभो तव सुप्रभातम्. Good morning, O Ramana, the supreme consciousness bliss. Those who recite your Suprabhatam hymn every day will be happy and gain a vision of true knowledge. They will cease to identify with the body and will be released from the clutches of Maya. Any work when finished, any literary work when finished, will have a Phalashruti. The fruits of meditating on that literary work will be mentioned. Likewise, here we have the Phalashruti for doing the Mananam of Ramana Suprabhatam. Here the poet says, whoever recites this work will be happy always and will attain the highest state. I present to you a song which is similar, which gives the Phalashrutis to different things related to Bhagavan Ramana. Some of the literary works which we sing will also have Phalashruti. Here the poet has brought in together many such Phalashrutis in this song, especially what happens with the name and form of Bhagavan Ramana. This is a composition by Y.V. Venkateshwar Rao, the Kannada translation by R.N. J. Gopal, music by Vijay Bhaskar. Ramana Madhura Nama Aruna Kanti Deepa Ramana Ninda Ashrama Parama Punya Kshetra Ramana Madhura Nama Aruna Kanti Deepa Ramana Ninda कीर्तना मनोबलविवर्धना रमण नाम कीर्तना मनोबलविवर्धना रमण मधुर नामा अरुणकान्ति दीपा रमण कथा श्रवणा भक्त हृदय स्पन्दना रमण कथा श्रवणा भक्त हृदय स्पन्दना रमण रूप ध्याना मुक्ति मार्गदर्शना रमण रूप ध्याना मुक्ति मार्गदर्शना रमण मधुर नामा अरुणकान्ति दीपा रमण गीत पठना धर्मद अनुष्ठाना रमण गीत पठना धर्मद अनुष्ठाना रमण पाद स्पर्शना सर्वव्याधि निवारणा रमण पाद स्पर्शना सर्वव्याधि निवारणा रमण मधुर नामा अरुणकान्ति दीपा रमण नाम गायना सत्य मार्ग प्रचोदना रमण नाम गायना सत्य मार्ग प्रचोदना रमण चरित चिंतना नाश भवद बंधना रमण चरित चिंतना नाश भवद बंधना रमण मधुर नामा अरुणकान्ति दीपा रमण निंत आश्रमा परम पुण्य क्षेत्र रमण मधुर नामा अरुणकान्ति दीपा रमण निंत आश्रमा परम पुण्य क्षेत्र परम पुण्य क्षेत्र परम पुण्य क्षेत्र नमो Ramana. We will now have the book reading and sharing by Sri Nanda Kumarji. The book is Forever is in the Now.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our Satsangh, we continue our readings from the work Forever is in the Now, the timeless message of Sri Ramana Maharshi, edited and compiled by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. We have started the second segment of the work, the first part being the teachings. The second part is the remembering Ramana Maharshi. We had seen the introduction to that by the compiler. we had seen the article from Alan Chadwick, Sadhu Arunachala. We start the article of Elliot C. Clark once again with your permission. I start right at the beginning, though we had seen 2-3 paragraphs. This article is entitled A Visit to Ramana Maharshi, Elliot C. Clark. He is introduced as a renowned American painter who visited Ramanashramam in 1938. As we look up the internet, find that born in 1893 and moved on in 1980. He was a precocious painter, an impressionist in US, but the way he writes the article speaks for itself. This is in his 40s because the article is penned in the year 1938. A visit to Ramana Maharshi, Elliot C. Clark. The Maharishi sits half reclining upon a raised divan. He wears only a loincloth. I have no preconceived thought, but pass before his presence respectfully. He seems quite oblivious, and if he has noted the stranger, there seems no reaction or awareness. Seated on the floor, yogi fashion, are many worshippers in silent meditation. The men separately, a small group of women in the farther corner of the room. Although I am the only foreigner present, no one seems to have any visual or curious interest. I sit among others on the floor. No word is spoken. My attention is at first a purely objective one. I study the head of the Maharishi. He is a man past 60. His hair close cut and white, a short mustache and a beard. His complexion rather light. His features are not typically Hindu. The back of his head is unusually full and round, a high forehead, the brows almost in the center of the head, the eyes high set, the ears long and pronounced, and the body in a state of composure. A tall, dark-skinned pilgrim enters. He is nude to the waist. Standing serenely before the master, he prostrates fully on the ground, his arms outstretched, his hands held together. There is no emotional demonstration. It is the formal mode of obeisance, graceful and beatific. Then a woman enters. She kneels down, bows her head 3 times, and joins the group of her sisters. The Maharishi shows no sign of recognition. Seated before me is a handsome, yellow-robed sannyasi. His spine is perfectly erect. His limbs are crossed against the thigh. The soles of his feet are upward turned or turned upward. One is conscious of absolute absorption. One disciple pulls a rope rhythmically, moving a great fan or panka, which is suspended from the ceiling and refreshes the master. The collective quietude creates a natural tranquility. Objective thought and self-consciousness gradually subside and one merges in the prevailing unity. That's where we had stopped. I read that para again and then we continue. The collective quietude creates a natural tranquility. Objective thought and self-consciousness gradually subside and one merges in the prevailing unity. At the moment, I have deliberately ceased my curious interest and am about to close my eyes in reverie. The master's head is slightly turned. His eyes meet mine, and there is an inexpressible radiance, the slightest indication of a smile. Then visual awareness ceases. The teaching of the Maharishi is very simple, quite impersonal in content. It can only be realized by personal practice and experience. It is a state of being rather than a metaphysical abstraction or accumulated knowledge. The real teaching is in the revelation of sense. When the perturbation and fluctuation of the mind is stilled, the inner presence radiates itself. Ultimately, the Guru is one's self. The personal mind is the mode or vehicle of awareness. The source of mind is the universal consciousness. The individual becomes identified with his I, with his body and mind. But what is the source of the mind? We know the mind only by its change, just as one is aware of the motion from a static standpoint. The mind, like motion, is a relative movement. We are made aware of its presence by change. But if the mind turns inward in quest of its origin, the I awareness, which is its agent, vanishes in its source. I'll repeat that. But if the mind turns inward in quest of its origin, the I awareness, which is its agent, vanishes in its source. The I becomes identified not with its egotistical consciousness and the world of change, but with its source, which is constant. I consciousness is relative and finite, but the source is infinite and eternal. In the womb of silence, the light is ever shining. The I becomes identified not with its egotistical consciousness and the world of change, but with its source, which is constant. I consciousness is relative and finite, but the source is infinite and eternal. In the womb of silence, the light is ever shining. The Maharshi does not lecture or write books. Some of his sayings have been recorded by disciples. Commentaries have been written to elucidate his thought. But it is precisely when thought ceases in realization that his teaching is understood. Then the master too vanishes in his source. The Maharishi will answer questions, but in the magic of his presence, the questions begin to vanish with the quietening of the mind. Life at the ashram is also very simple. There is no imposed regulation. There are no imposed regulations or restrictions. The Maharishi does not receive any personal favors or presents. The food and necessities of life that are brought to the ashram, he shares with all alike. At mealtime, the disciples sit in a circle. Large leaf is placed on the ground before each guest. A chela or disciple serves the food from the center. Each in turn, generally rice, vegetables, fruit, curd and curry, with which one mixes together. Everyone eats with the hands. The Maharishi does not rise until all have eaten. After the repast, the leaf or plate is taken to a compost heap and the hands are washed in running water. Life is indeed simple at the ashram. At twilight, the master reclines on the terrace. A group of disciples gather to sing songs of praise or recite verses from the wisdom of the past. As stars appear, the chant reverberates in the silence of the night, says the painter. We go on to the next article. Memorable Days with the Sage of Arunachala by Swami Desikananda. Swami Desikananda is introduced in the book as a sannyasi of the Ramakrishna order, was the head of Vedanta College at Mysore for many years. Memorable Days with the Sage of Arunachala by Swami Desikananda. It was the divine grace. It was divine grace that brought me to the presence of Bhagavan Sri Ramana in 1927. On entering the ashram, I saw the Maharishi seated on a couch with nothing more on than a loincloth and appearing to gaze at some distant void. He was surrounded by devotees sitting at his feet, and the whole scene was reminiscent of sages of yore. I stood for a while in his presence. He looked at me casually and I made my namaskarams. He made kind enquiries as to where I came from and about my stay. Next morning, I went to the ashram and sat before the Maharishi in meditation. The mind was quiet and unwavering. Sri Maharishi remained sitting on the couch as usual, apparently gazing at vacant space. Next morning, I again returned to the ashram to sit at his feet, as I found I could easily concentrate in his presence and had progressively longer spells of undisturbed meditation, such as I have never been able to achieve before anywhere else. This is one's experience too when we go to the Samadhi shrine of Bhagavan. At the very moment, Bhagavan brings whatever life has had as the deepest meditation and then takes to the next teaching that he wants to give. The Guru's presence to this day is of the same nature as the Swamiji is describing here. Next morning, I again returned to the ashram to sit at his feet, as I found I could easily concentrate in his presence and had progressively longer spells of undisturbed meditation, such as I have never been able to achieve before anywhere else. When I told the Maharishi about it and how enjoyable it was, he asked me whether I was sleeping at the time of meditation. On my replying in the negative, he laughed and inquired about my method of meditating, which was to concentrate on a light in the heart and offer a flower to my Ishtam, chosen God, whenever the mind wavered, as instructed by His Holiness Swami Shivanandji. Maharishi said it was all right for me and I could continue in this way. The third day, after a lengthy meditation in front of the Maharishi, I told him about the picture of Jesus I had seen in a church, surrounded by all sorts of animals at peace with one another. He replied that this was due to the fact of animosity having been conquered by the sage. Even snakes could not harm anybody here in this ashram, and added that in the presence of sages, evil nature would be conquered and friendliness prevail. We can always recall the incident that Adi Shankara saw in Sringeri to decide to set up the mutt there, where he sees a pregnant frog being shaded from the rain by a well-hooded snake, or some such event where the enemies, natural enemies, to lose their enmity. That is the explanation Bhagavan gives for that picture. This is how the rishis of old used to live in forests and caves, unharmed by wild creatures. A visitor asked the Maharishi in the evening if he saw any form of God in meditation. He replied that the self or Atman was our real nature and has no form. He quoted a verse of Shankaracharya: "You are not the body, you are not the mind, senses, or buddhi. You are beyond all this. You are the Atman." When one becomes perfected in meditation, having discarded all desires and merges in the self, the mind loses itself without any objectivity. The mind then is no mind. The mind losing itself in Atman is what is called as samadhi. This is the real nature of man and sublime happiness. The highest goal of man is to inquire who am I and realize the self. If a human being does not try to realize this, he lives in vain. This state in which he enjoys the highest peace and happiness is dearer than anything else in the world. It is in all beings, in the innermost heart. Unless one realizes this state, one will have to be born again and die again and again. In this real state, one goes beyond grief and sorrow. It makes man immortal. On the 5th day of my visit, I saw a young woman with a small baby seated at Bhagavan's feet, sobbing bitterly. She had recently lost her husband and was grief-stricken. Bhagavan looked at her with compassion and told her, husband, wife, and children are for the body. Go home and know who you are. Go home and do not weep. The words of a jnani have power to transform. Home can also mean spiritual home, the source. His command, go home and know who you are, might have taken effect in a heart one-pointed and purified by sorrow. In the case of another young woman, Echamal, the heartbroken at the loss of her entire family, Bhagavan's very silence was enough to effect the transformation and lift her grief. The remaining days went off as usual. Bhagavan's routine was to sit on the couch, mostly in silence till noon, and again after food and a little rest. He used to look through the mirror. He used to look through the mail twice a day and go for a short walk on the hill. He said on one occasion that since there was no mind at all, there was also no concept of anything. All was one full expanse in peace and happiness. Bhagavan appears to have just commented on his own state. He said on one occasion that since there was no mind at all, there was also no concept of anything. All was one full expanse in peace and happiness. He quickly added that we cannot even say one expanse as there was no second. This is the beauty of the Maharishi, that even when he comes forth to make one expression, he is free to erase that to saying that that is also not adequate in some way or the other. When I was ready to leave, I told Bhagavan, so on the 9th day of my stay, kneeling before him, I wept profusely. He remarked, you can stay on. Nobody asked you to go. However, I took leave of him the next day and he told me to continue my meditation as usual and that everything would be all right in the course of time. By Bhagavan's grace, not only was I drawn into the fold of a sage who had the highest realization, but was helped in every way to experience periods of supreme peace and bliss. This indeed forms the sheet anchor of my life that was, that is, and that will be. He says his experience of the deep meditations with Bhagavan forms the sheet anchor of my life that was, that is, and that will be. The silent ministration of Bhagavan will indeed remain an eternal spring of spiritual joy and peace. It is but appropriate that I close this account with salutations to Bhagavan Ramana, who keeps on inspiring ever-increasing number of seekers as time goes on. How gracious, there is a poem, how gracious art thou, Lord Dakshinamurti, to have blessed mankind by thy ministration in human form. To Bhagavan, who is but the form of Satyam, Shivam, and Sundaram, do I offer my salutations again and again. Om Tat Sat. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramanaka. We'll now have a guided meditation session and sharing by Sri Nanda Kumarji.
Namo Ramana. I take this opportunity to fill in for Dilip ji. We begin this evening's self-inquiry session before sitting for the practice to read Bhagavan's Upadesham, of which Major Chadwick says, every word is golden, not a single word to be ignored. So from the talks, we pick randomly and we are in talk number 360, 14 February 1937. The aristocratic gentleman from Lucknow has written to Paul Brunton that his wife has since lost that peace of mind which she had gained by her visits to Sri Bhagavan. So he desires that Sri Bhagavan may be pleased to restore the same peace. The aristocratic gentleman from Lucknow has written to Mr. Paul Brunton that his wife has since lost the peace of mind which she had gained by her visits to Sri Bhagavan. So he desires that Sri Bhagavan may be pleased to restore the same peace. When requested, Sri Bhagavan said, "It is due to weakness of mind that peace once gained is later lost." What Swami Deshikananda ji says that it was his sheet anchor for the rest of his life. It is, and it will be that same sheet anchor till one makes it as the sheet anchor, till with the continuation of the penance, the tapas, it can be felt that it is lost, but then one has to get back to the tapas and regain it, because it is never really lost. It's only that the ignorance comes and covers up again. Mudaliar Swami, son of the lady who brings bhiksha every day to Sri Bhagavan, related the following interesting incident. Mudaliar Swami is the son of Mudaliar Party. Mudaliar Party, of course, is the one who brings bhiksha to Bhagavan every day for over 40 years. During the time Sri Bhagavan was staying in Virupaksha cave, Sri Bhagavan and Mudaliar Swami were walking together behind this Kandashram site. There was a huge rock about 15 feet high. It was a cleft. A girl, a shepherdess, was standing there crying. Sri Bhagavan asked her of her sorrow. She said, "A sheep of mine has slipped into this cleft, so I am crying." Sri Bhagavan descended into the cleft, took the sheep on his shoulders, climbed up to the surface, and delivered the sheep to her. Mudaliar Swami says it was a very remarkable feat for any human being. So as we have been reading in the book reading, in the second segment, that what is the nature of jnana in terms of love, in terms of compassion, in terms of karuna. These two readings, one regarding how the tapas has to be continued by the sadhaka, and the nature of jnana in terms of bhakti, it is fullness of karuna. The karuna is not a guna, na karuna guna. It is a natural shining of this purana in the heart. It is fullness of karuna, and that is brought out in this incident. The dryness of the intellect we can cross-check. As sadhakas, we should cross-check whether we are just passing away the sorrow that we see, the difficulties of people that we see. Are we just blind to them, or are we seeing them and knowing the condition of Jiva Bhava, putting us to all those difficulties and taking responsibility on behalf of all? We do self-inquiry that this is the nature of Jiva Bhava, that is the separation from the apparent separation from the fullness of source is definitely sorrow, is filled with some kind of difficulty or the other. The girl has to go and answer to the parents what happened to that sheep. Not only that, to what extent she loved that sheep, we don't know. For that single girl losing a single sheep, the jnani immediately goes into that cleft, which Mudaliar Swami says it was not a human task. It was such a difficult task, and he brings that sheep on his shoulders just for us to verify our own thoughts, whether our thoughts are full of karuna. That is the indication that jnana is reaching its purnatva. The silence is full of karuna, is full of compassion. Compassion for the whole of Jiva Bhava. Anyone takes Jiva Bhava, then the suffering is naturally there. But both the Jiva Bhava and the suffering are unreal. With that awareness and responsibility, one goes to the Atman with Atma Uchara. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in Atma Uchara for 10 minutes. Revathi ma, you'll help us out with the timing. Namo Ramana.
Moramana. We will now have the sharing of Manana on Dakshinamurti Stotram by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande sir.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dakshinamurti Parambham Shankaracharya Madhyama Ramanacharya Paryanta Vande Guru Parampara Vande Guru Parampara Vande Guru Parampara. Namo Ramana. We're doing Manana on Dakshinamurti Stotram. So the typical question that each one should ask is, why are we doing Manana on this at all? Bhagavan says, God in the form of the Guru, God in the form of Guru, with form, takes me to the formless. God in the form of the Guru, with form, takes me to the formless. When I transcend form, I become deathless. Because I become fearless because I am deathless. So, Bhagavan's immense grace, we are doing Manana on verse number 8 today. So I request Sapna to kindly chant the Dhyana Shloka as well as the 8th verse, please.
Sure, sir. मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितः परब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानां वर्षिष्टान्ते वसदृषिगणैः आवृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे विश्वं पश्यति कार्यकारणतया स्वस्वामि सम्बन्धतः शिष्याचार्यतया तथैव पितृपुत्राध्यात्मना भेदतः स्वप्ने जागृतिवाया एषा पुरुषो माया परिभ्रामितः तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. I salute Sri Dakshinamurti, the young Guru who teaches the knowledge of Brahman through silence, who is surrounded by disciples who are themselves rishis and scholars in the Vedas. I worship Sri Dakshinamurti, who is a teacher of teachers, whose hand is held in the sign of knowledge, Chinmudra, whose nature is fullness, who revels in himself, and who is ever silent. Bhagwan's grace will be doing Manana on the verse number 8. He who is the Purusha, he who is the Purusha, world in Maya, he who is the Purusha, world in Maya, sees in himself the world of cause-effect, diversely related as possessor and possession, father and son, and as teacher and taught, both in the state of waking and dreaming. To him, the divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, is this prostration. I'll just read this again. He who is the Purusha, world in Maya, sees in himself the world of cause and effect, diversely related as possessor and possession, father and son, and as teacher and taught, both in the state of waking and dreaming. Let's try and understand what Bhagavan has to say. This is the verse which talks about the vision of a Brahmagnani. So this verse explains Brahman and the vision of a Brahmagnani, the one who has gained the knowledge of Brahman. Sri Shankara here continues to describe that Sri Dakshinamurti is the source of all knowledge. Sri Dakshinamurti is described here as the one who sees the world in a particular way. What distinguishes an enlightened person is the world view or vision, how they see the world around them, how they relate to the world, how they see other people, how they see themselves. So what distinguishes an enlightened person in this world view or vision? So what is the enlightened person's worldview? The one who sees everything differently but as oneself. The one who sees all these differences in the world as one's own self. The one who sees all these differences in the world as one's own self. This is the highest teaching of Vedanta. Everything that you experience in your mind, everything in your mind is form plus consciousness. Everything in your mind is form plus consciousness. Form is not real, so everything is consciousness. This consciousness, Satchidananda Atman, happens to be identical to Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. This Brahman is the reality because of which everything exists. It is the underlying existence because of which everything in the cosmos, such as the stars and the planets, exist. Everything on the earth, such as the rocks and the trees, exist. Every experience is a form of consciousness. This consciousness is not an ordinary consciousness. This consciousness is extraordinary because it is identical with Brahman. This is how you can connect to Mahavakyas, the highest statement of the truth. Let us understand the following two Mahavakyas. Tattvam Asi. It means your consciousness is that reality because of which everything exists. Tat Tvam Asi. It means that your consciousness is that reality because of which everything exists. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman because of which everything exists. This is very profound teachings of Vedanta. Now let's try and understand the vision of a Brahmagnani. What would it be to have a mind at that highest level of understanding? This verse gives you an insight. If you have the worldview of a Brahmagnani, you realize that your consciousness is a reality because of which everything exists. I'll read that again. If you have a worldview of a Brahmagnani, you realize that your consciousness is a reality because of which everything exists. You will see everything in the world as yourself. Everything in the world, such as cause and effect, is seen as nothing but the manifestation of your own consciousness. This is the vision of a Brahmagnani, the one who has discovered the highest truth. Everything in the world, such as cause and effect, is seen as nothing but the manifestation of your own consciousness. Brahmagnani sees everything in the world as oneself, including cause and effect, your master and your connection to your master. Your master could be your boss at work, your spouse, your parent, or children, whoever is directing you. Thus, you see your master and yourself as another manifestation of yourself, an expression of your own consciousness. You see student and teacher as a manifestation of yourself, and also father and son, etc. Whatever you see in life is all seen as a natural manifestation of your own consciousness. In simple words, it is all manifestation of the same divinity. The divinity is present in yourself as yourself. The divinity is present in yourself as yourself. The same divinity manifests as this entire world, as every person, as every tree, as every rock. The same divinity manifests as your consciousness. The same divinity manifests in all forms. So that person sees all of these differences, such as cause and effect, master and connection, teacher and student, father and son, while awake and while dreaming, projected due to Maya. This is a very important line. He says, that person sees all of these differences. That person sees all the differences, such as cause and effect, master and connection, teacher and student, father and son, while awake and while dreaming, the Jagrati and Swapne, projected due to Maya. The deep sleep is not mentioned here. The reason is, in deep sleep there is no experience. How is it that one non-dual can manifest as your consciousness, my consciousness, and also your body and mind, and as my body and mind? Everybody and mind, everybody and mind, as this planet, all these stars and planets in the cosmos, one non-dual Brahman manifests in all of these due to Maya, its power of creation. This verse is an expression of Mahavakya, one who has fully assimilated that ultimate truth, this oneness is their vision. Everything is seen as one's own self, as a projection of the self due to Maya. Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye, the one who is Brahmagnani, who sees the oneness of all. Unto that, Tasmai, this idam salutation Namaha, who is the form of my Guru, Shri Gurumurtaye, as well as in the form of Shri Dakshinamurti. The word Guru really can be used only for a person who imparts spiritual knowledge. A Guru is one who unfolds the knowledge that you are the whole, non-separate from the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Ramanacentre by Sri Ujjwal Jagadish.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Dharme nashamupada त्रिभुवने पर्याकुले पापतः प्रज्ञाने परितो गिरं पतिबुध संचार्य माणे जनैः सद्भावे परमेश्वरस्य च पितुः सन्देहडोलाङ्गते द्वीपकैतवमर्त्यके कितुरग त्वामन्तर कसताम् रमणाय लोकगुरवे नमः रमणाय लोकगुरवे नमः धर्मनाशवागुतिदे त्रिलोकवु मरुळागिदे पापदी ನಿಜ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಅರಿಯದ ಜನರು ಎಲ್ಲೆಡೆ ತೊಡಗಿಹರು ವಾಗ್ವಾದದಿ ಸದಾ ಪೊರೆವ ತಂದೆ ಪರಮೇಶ್ವನ ಇರುವೆ ಸಂದೇಹಿಸಲ್ಪಡುತ್ತಿದೆ ರಕ್ಷೆ ನೀನೆ ನರವೇಶಿನ ಬಿಲುವಾಹನನೆ ನೀನಲ್ಲದೆ ಹಿತರಾರೆ ಮಗೆ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ. In this verse of Ramanacentre, Ganapati Muni is calling out to Ramana, who is none other than the one who is come in the human garb. He is none other than the one who rides on the peacock. Oh Subramanya, the right time for you to come and protect the world has come, because it is your own promise that you say, you have told us Krishna Acharya in Bhagavad Gita, and again you have reiterated when you came as Ramana, that whenever the adharma wanes and the dharma has to be uplifted, you take the human form again and again, yuge, and you appear before us. So it is your promise that you will come when the adharma is increasing. And I see that dharma is getting declined and adharma is rising, because dharma is the right conduct, the right way to lead our life. Since the people are unknown of this truth, this dharma which has been expounded in the Vedas and the Shastras and the Upanishads, since the people are not able to understand the essence of these Vedas and Upanishads, they are illusioned and they are suffering by doing wrong deeds, and they are thinking the true knowledge is only shown through speeches. If one person can give speech and convince everyone with their logic, they think that is great jnana. But you have to come to reveal the world the true jnana. And since the people are so much in illusion, they are doubting the presence of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Father. They are doubting his presence. And because of that, if one doubts the presence of the Supreme, there is no joy. There is only sorrow. There are numerous instances which shows the glory of the faith in the Supreme. And one such story, which was narrated by Dr. Sharda, there was an atheist who does not believe in God. And he led his life with this belief that there is no God. There is no power called God. Simply people are wasting their time and energy and money on praying and believing some power which is not seen to the eyes. So with this belief, he is leading his life. And one point in his life, he is driving the car and he is speeding, because he knows that he is in control, and he is going through the Ghat sections. Ghat section is the sections where there are hills and valleys, and the car is turning and twisting and going in these Ghat sections. And at that point, the brakes fail, and he does not have the control over the car, and the car is speeding and he's not able to control the car, and in that worry, that in that situation, he somehow wants to jump out of the car and save his life. At that point, he opens his door and he jumps out of the car, and the car just goes flying in the air and drops into the deep valley. And this atheist is holding on to one branch of a tree which is on the slope of the hill, and he is trying to call for help. He says, "Help, help, somebody please come and help me." But his voice is not heard. Nobody is coming to help. And at that point, that in any time he's not able to hold that tree, and he's not able to find a place that he can get down to the tree or come to a safer place. So he's just holding on to that branch, and that is the only support he's having at that point of time. And he is really tired. His hands are paining. Any moment he may drop the branch, and he is about to lose his life. At that point, he screams and cries, "Oh God, I have not been believing you. I have led my life thinking that there is no power called God. But now at this point, I'm feeling that nobody is there to help me. I feel that you are there. Please come and save my life." So this is the prayer that he is calling out to the Supreme. And at that point, there is a voice which was heard. "My child, are you calling out for me? Are you calling me to come and save you?" And the man who is holding on to that branch is thrilled. "Oh, somebody has heard my voice. Yes, I have called you. Is that God who is talking to me? Please save me. Please save me." And at that point of time, the God says, "You have not been believing me. You have been telling that there is no power called God. Do you believe in me now? Do you have faith that I will save your life? Do you have faith?" And that atheist is telling, "Yes, God, now I completely believe in you. Please save my life. I will do whatever you want. I'll dedicate my life in prayers. I will dedicate my life to sing your glory and spread your presence to all the people. Please save my life." And the God again confirms, "Do you really believe I exist? Do you really believe that I will save your life?" And the person again says, "Yes, God, why are you asking me again and again? I truly believe you. I completely believe in you. Please save my life." And at that point, the God says, "Okay then, I will save your life. Leave the branch and leave your hands loose," says the divine voice. And the man who is holding on to the branch tightly, he says, "What? Are you kidding? You want me to leave the branch?" And the God says, "I am here to protect you. I'm here to catch you. Leave the branch." But that atheist, although through words he told that "I completely believe in you," he's not ready to take that, the quantum leap of faith. He's sandeha dolangate. Although we say that we completely believe in God, we have complete faith in God, we truly don't have this complete faith. We doubt the presence of God. And to reveal to us that the Supreme Father exists, and that Supreme Father is taking care of everything, Ramana, you have to come as Guru and save us. Save us that we are so illusioned that we are doubting the presence of that which is ever available, that power which is making us do all the work. We are doubting that presence. And the reasons may be many. In one of our recent productions, Banditu Male, we have a story of an angry lady. This angry lady who had recently got wed, who had just now newly married lady who was fully in love with that beloved, and with great difficulty, by convincing their families, they had married each other and they were on their honeymoon. At that point of time, they were in the beach, enjoying the waves of the beach. In just front of her eyes, she sees that a huge whale appears and it just swallows up her newly wed husband, and she is completely shaken. She says, "How can this happen to me? The one who is so good, how can this such a bad tragedy happen to me?" So she is completely shaken and she says, if there was a power called God, this thing should have never happened to me. Such a bad thing should have never happened to me. So she says that there is no God, and I'm going to prove this with my logic. I'm going to all the great devotees, all the great saints, and I'm going to debate with them, and I'm going to win the debate and prove to them that there is no power called God. And with her power and prowess of speaking, she went all around the world fighting with all the jnanis and the devotees that she could find, and she used to win in all the places, and she was filled with this pride. And she, in one point of time in her life, comes to the presence of Ramana. And since she is a foreigner, she has been sent to the house of Lucy Osborne. And Lucy Osborne, seeing her situation, that she's filled with grief and she's filled with anger, and she says, she calls her little daughter Kitty, and she says, "Take this auntie to the presence of Ramana." And Kitty Osborne reports that when I was holding the hand of this lady, my hands was shivering and it was filled with this heat of anger, and I was waiting to leave her hand and go away and run. So as soon as I took her to the presence of Ramana, I just left her hand and I ran away. And after some time, when the time for lunch was announced, when the bell was rung, this Kitty Osborne came back to the hall of Ramana to take back this lady who was filled with anger. And this time, when she held the hand of that angry lady, she could feel that all that heat had cooled down. It was so gentle and soft and so cool, and she held the hand of that lady and brought her back to home. And she was hiding behind the curtain and wanted to know what had actually happened. What happened in the presence of Ramana, that there was such a magnificent change. And she was listening, and Lucy Osborne would have asked, "What happened? What did Ramana say?" And the lady replied, "I don't know what happened. No words were spoken. I was just in the presence of Ramana, and that very presence made me realize that what love I knew was only selfish love. That he is my beloved, he is my husband. But this love which I see in the eyes of Ramana and in his smile is that love which is universal, that love which encompasses the whole universe, and that love which only is for the good of the whole universe." I understood that I have to seek that love. I understood that that love which radiates from this holy man is our own true nature. I understood that. So that's why all my anger has subsided. I now have complete faith in that divine love which loves everyone. And the only thing that we have to do is have full faith in that supreme power and do our given work, do our sadhana, so that he takes care to fill us with this renewed faith in the supreme. Ramana had to come as the world teacher and bless the whole world. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Manana on Ramana Ashtotaram by Dr. Shata.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self, manifest as Ramana, we are meditating on the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavali, a composition of Vishwanatha Swami on Bhagavan Ramana, a litany of 108 names. And we have been meditating on the Nama, on those names which described the enlightenment of Bhagavan on the 17th of July 1896 and the subsequent state of Bhagavan after the enlightenment, which was described as Tivraya Namaha, the intense experience of the self has been described by Vishwanatha Swami, and after that Vishwanatha Swami goes on to mention his departure to Arunachala, Pitrapadan Veshine Namaha, who set out in search of the feet of the Father or the state of the Father. And we saw how this came to happen it was the 29th of August 1896, about 6 weeks from the Enlightenment. And during this time, the young Venkatraman Bhagavan had been fully absorbed in the self, had lost all interest for everything else, and obviously for his studies also. And he had been punished by his English teacher to write an imposition of Bain's English grammar, write an imposition, an exercise 3 times over. And he had written the exercise twice, and then he had felt the futility of it, or he had felt a deeper pull from the self and had set aside his book and got absorbed in the self. And his brother, elder brother Nagaswami, who had been sarcastically teasing him all this time, all these 6 weeks, once again repeated a similar remark and said, "Of what use is all this for such a one?" What use is all this meaning? The family, the home, and all the conveniences of a home. Of what use is all this for such a one who is lost in meditation all the time, for one who cares only for the self, the bliss of the self. Now, as Bhagavan himself has recorded or reported later, when devotees have asked him, it was not unusual for his brother to tease him in this manner. He had been calling him Jnani and Yogeshwarar all those days. But this was Arunachala's time. It was his call. And so the words entered the heart of the young Venkatraman as the call from Arunachala. And he decided to set out in search of his father, Arunachala. This is the first time that Bhagavan is referring to Arunachala as his father. He refers to it in his letter when he is leaving home. He is about to leave home. He tells his brother, "I have a special class to attend." And as he is setting out, his brother says, "Take my college fees and pay it. The money for the journey is provided." Bhagavan consults an old atlas which is available, and seeing the distance, he calculates that the railway fare will be 3 rupees. And the college fees was 5 rupees. So he leaves 2 rupees behind, takes with him only 3 rupees, and is about to set out when he feels he must not go without saying something, leaving something behind for the family. And so he writes a note. The note says, "I have, in obedience, in search of my father." Okay, in search of my father is mentioned afterwards. "I have, in obedience to his command," is the first sentence. And then it says with a small oblique on top, it says, "in search of my father." So this is the father, Arunachala, whose place he is setting out in search of. So Vishwanatha Swami says, Pitripada Anveshine. Anveshine means to search for. I have in search of my father, he says. So it is that he is setting out in search of his father. Why a search? Bhagavan says in his Arunachala Ashtakam, Bhagavan says, Arivar Giriyana Amartarum Amma Adishayam Adansayal Arivaridu Arkum. This looks like just an ordinary hill, a hill which has no consciousness, which is made up of rocks and stones and mud. Do they have consciousness? Arivaragiri, Arivaragiri and Amartarum, Amma Adishayam Midanchayam. But its ways, its workings are amazing, mysterious. The Arkum, nobody can comprehend, no one can comprehend the workings of this hill. Why do I say so? Arivar Sirvayadadu Mudal Arunachalam Mihaperidan Arivinilanga. From even before I knew anything at all on this earth, from that age of infancy or from my earliest knowledge of this manifest being, I knew that it is something extraordinary. Arivaru Siruvayadadu Mudal Arunachala Mihapperidana Arivinilanga. I knew it is something very glorious, something very great. And we meditated on this when we saw the anecdote of somebody coming from Tiruvannamalai, a relative coming from Tiruvannamalai. So Bhagavan says, Arihilan Adansayal. But I did not know anything about it, what it does. I only knew it was glorious. Adu Tiruvannamalai oruvaral arivura petrum. Arihilan. I did not know. Even though I came to know that it is Tiruvannamalai. Somebody told me it's Tiruvannamalai. But when it drew me to itself, Arivine Marulu Tarihinil Irka. When it completely captured my mind and drew me to itself, then I saw that it is that which is unmoving. Achalama Kande. I saw. So Bhagavan says, even when I heard that it is Tiruvannamalai, I did not really comprehend what Arunachala is, where Arunachala is. See, we may hear that some place, we may hear about the geographical location of that place. But imagine, Bhagavan is a 16-year-old boy who has never left his home on his own. I mean, he might be going to school on his own and coming back. He never went to travel to any place, even probably with his people. He's traveled only from Dindikal to Tiruchuri to Madurai. That's all. He has never been outside, not on a train probably, and not traveled extensively. He doesn't know what is the meaning of traveling. And certainly he has never gone to any place on his own. So this is not something which he can say he is consciously aware where he has to go. He's bought the ticket, he's boarding the train, he's going, he's packed his bags. It's not like that. He has just gone. He's not taken anything with him, and he is not very sure. He has just estimated that the nearest station is Tindivanam. He doesn't even know the exact route to Tiruvannamalai. He has guessed this from seeing the atlas. So he really has to physically also find Tiruvannamalai. Therefore he says, in search of my father. He is searching, Anveshine. He is to search and find out exactly where Tiruvannamalai is. He doesn't know what awaits him on reaching there. So the entire thing is a search. It's It is an awareness, a faith, a total faith is there in the presence, the glorious presence of Arunachala. A total faith is there that it is the call of Arunachala. It is Arunachala which is calling him, and he is pursuing that call. But beyond that, he doesn't know anything. So, this is how Bhagavan asks us to do our self-inquiry. With total faith in the self, as a search, anveshine, Pitrupada anveshine, to search for the presence of the Father, the self, within the heart, within ourselves, to search without any prior imagination. This is exactly how it is. There is no knowledge. When you search, you have tentativeness. You do not know exactly. You're ready to drop your previous knowledge and just be ready to be guided, Remain alert, remain vigilant, and follow the inward call. Follow, who am I? Who is this I? What is the source of this I? This Anveshana, this search is what Bhagavan is epitomizing for us through his journey to Arunachala. It is a search of his father where he has already dropped everything other than his whatever he is wearing on his own body. That's all. He is not carrying anything. He has carried, what has he carried with him? He has carried 3 rupees, which he thought was minimally necessary, and that's all. Nothing else he has carried. So in this search, when we go within ourselves, Bhagavan says, don't carry any thought. Don't hold on to any thought. Just hold on to the I thought alone. The I thought alone, and go towards its source. With the I thought alone, go towards its source. Pitrupadanveshine namaha. Go towards the self. This is a beautiful journey we will see unfolding before us. Absolutely amazing journey of Bhagavan reaching Arunachala, searching, going step by step by step, being guided purely by grace. Being guided purely by grace, depending only on grace, not depending on any other support whatsoever. And that is how our journey should be. Not depending on any other support in the form of thought, but only depending purely on the grace of the self. We should hold on to the self-inquiry, hold on to the inquiry, purely depending on the grace of the self. So the first step we see is that Bhagavan Ramana, Venkatraman, that young boy of 16, left home around noon. And the train was to leave around noon. But that day, the train was late. So we see one step. The grace, when we turn towards it, the grace rises up, makes it conducive for us to turn back. And we will see several such beautiful anecdotes at every step of this magical journey of Bhagavan to Arunachala. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
We will now have the chanting of Arunachala Aksharamana Malai by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. பொடியா மயக்கியன் போதத்தை பறித்து உன் போதத்தை காட்டினை அருணாச்சலா. போக்கும் வரவுமில் பொது வெளியினில் அருள் போராட்டம் காட்டருணாச்சலா. பௌத்திகமாமுடல் பற்று அற்று நாடும் உத்பவிசு கண்டுர அருணாச்சலா. மலை மருந்திட நீ மலை திடவோ அருள்மலை மருந்தாயோடு அருணாச்சலா. மானம் கொண்டுருபவர் மானத்தை அழித்த விமானம் இல்லாதோடு அருணாச்சலா. மிஞ்சிடு கெஞ்சிடும் கொஞ்சவரி வலியன் வஞ்சி அதருள் என்னை அருணாச்சலா. மீகாமன் இல்லாமல் மாகாற்றலை கலமாகாம காத்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. முடியடி காண முடிவிடுத்தனை நேர் முடிவிட கரநிலை அருணாச்சலா. மூங்கிலன் முக்காட்டு முகுர மகாதனை தூக்கி அணைந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. மெய்யகத்தின் மனமென் மலரணையில் நம்மை கலந்திட அருள் அருணாச்சலா. மேல் தாழ்ந்திட மெல்லிய சேர்ந்து நீ மேன்மையுற்றனையன் அருணாச்சலா. மைமய நீ தருள் மையினலுனது உண்மை வசமாக்கினை அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. நமோ ரமண.
Namo Ramana. We will now conclude today's satsang with the Ashtottara Puja to Bhagavan. The Ashtottara Puja will be done by Sri Ujjwal Jagadish at Ramana Maharshi Heritage Building. The chanting will be done by Vaibhavji, Prarthana and Revathi Shankar.
भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्ड संविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ जमौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोत्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दराय तपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीय सुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीन मानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दिक्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराजे नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईद्याय नमः
ॐ धूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः ॐ आप्ताय नमः ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः ॐ समदृशे नमः ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः ॐ सत्याय नमः ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः ॐ सौम्याय नमः ॐ आत्मवते नमः ॐ सर्वावलिमतस्थानामाराध्याय नमः ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः ॐ महाभागाय नमः ॐ मातृमुक्तिविदायकाय नमः ॐ विनताय नमः ॐ विनुताय नमः ॐ विप्राय नमः ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः ॐ दर्शनादघसंहारिणे नमः ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्ट्रे नमः ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः ॐ गुहाय नमः ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। इति श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुखमङ्गलमुख सकलजीवहितसम्मुख ब्रह्मसङ्गिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानन्दपुष्ट परममहर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठसमदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತಂ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ। बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।